thought I was living the dream, a happy marriage, a cozy home, and a man who always kissed me goodbye. But one night, I came home early from a trip and heard his voice through the baby monitor, whispering I love you. The problem? I wasn't the one on the other end. This story isn't just about betrayal, it's about what happens when the lies unravel. The truth cuts deeper than you ever imagined, and a woman refuses to be anyone's second choice. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, you won't forget this. Part 1. The perfect picture was cracked. They say marriage is built on trust. I used to believe that. I used to believe a lot of things. Nathan and I had been married for 6 years. From the outside, we were the couple people envied, laughing at dinner parties, holding hands at the grocery store, posting carefully chosen moments online to showcase our forever. And I believed in it. All of it. I believed in him. I met Nathan during a business seminar in Chicago. I was a speaker. He was in the audience. He approached me after my talk with a calm confidence and a crooked smile that made me forget half the speech I'd just delivered. We dated long distance for a year before he moved to Atlanta to be with me. Within months, he proposed. I said yes before he could even finish the sentence. Our wedding was a backyard affair, intimate, soft string lights hanging from the trees, and my father walking me down the aisle with tears in his eyes. I never imagined that someday I'd cry in that same backyard for very different reasons. It started small, as it always does. A late work meeting here, a forgotten dinner there. Nathan had always worked hard. Marketing was a demanding field, full of unpredictable hours. But lately, those hours stretched longer, and his explanations grew thinner. One night, I noticed something strange. I'd come home early from a client trip and collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. I heard his voice upstairs, low, affectionate, the tone he only used with me. I smiled, assuming he was talking to our dog, Milo. But Milo was asleep beside me. I froze. I muted the TV and listened closely. I love you, Nathan whispered. I held my breath. No answer came back. He must have been on the phone, I thought, maybe with his mom? But then he said it again, quieter this time, like it was a secret. I miss you too. My stomach dropped. I crept upstairs, heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. The door to our guest room was cracked open. Light spilled from inside. I pushed it slightly, just enough to peek in. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone to his ear, facing away. I know, baby. I wish I could see you tonight. She's home early, he murmured. I didn't breathe. I didn't cry. I just turned and walked back downstairs like a ghost. The next morning, I acted normal. I cooked breakfast. I asked about his day, and when he kissed me goodbye, I smiled and waved from the porch. But inside, something broke, a quiet fracture, and I knew it wouldn't heal easily. Part 2, Lies Wrapped in Love Notes. That day, everything felt louder, the ticking clock in the kitchen, the hum of the fridge, the sound of Nathan's car pulling away from the driveway like it was running from guilt itself. I sat in our breakfast nook, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched coffee, replaying his words over and over again. She's home early. I didn't confront him, not yet. I needed more than a whisper through a half-closed door. I needed clarity, proof. I needed to know exactly how long I'd been sleeping beside a stranger. I called in sick to work. I spent the day doing things I never imagined myself doing, searching his side of the closet for anything out of place, digging through drawers, checking the browser history on his laptop. Nothing. Then I remembered the smartwatch I'd gifted him for our anniversary. He always wore it. I'd synced it to our shared home app, partially to motivate him to walk more, but also because I liked seeing his heart rate spike during spin class. Now, I wondered what secrets that watch held. When he returned that night, everything was normal. He kissed me on the forehead, dropped his briefcase by the door, and asked if I wanted takeout. I said yes. Chinese, his favorite. While he was in the shower, I synced his smartwatch to my phone. It took less than a minute. There were no messages on the device itself, but the call log was revealing multiple late-night calls to a single unsaved number. Always short, always after I was asleep or away. I cross-referenced the number through a paid lookup service. I felt my heart cave in on itself. The number belonged to Emily Grant. Emily had been Nathan's co-worker for a few years. I'd met her once at the company Christmas party, petite, green-eyed, The kind of effortlessly charming that made you feel overdressed and underconfident just standing next to her. She'd worn red lipstick and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. I remembered shaking her hand and thinking, she's harmless. I wanted to throw up. That night, I lay beside him in bed, staring at the ceiling. His hand rested on my waist. I let it stay there, even though my skin crawled under his touch. The next few days were torture. Every kiss felt staged. Every laugh felt like a performance, and I played along, perfectly. Because I wasn't ready to scream yet, I needed to be sure, and then I got it. Friday, I told Nathan I was flying to New York for a weekend seminar. He helped pack my bag. He even made me a playlist for the plane. Said, text me when you land, with that same warm smile I used to adore. But I never boarded the plane. I waited in my car, parked just around the corner. I watched our front door like it was a stage, waiting for the next act in his little drama. Hours passed. Then, at 9:17 p.m., headlights flicked across the driveway. A silver Audi pulled up. Emily stepped out. Tight dress, lipstick redder than I remembered. She didn't knock. She used a key. A key. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white. I forced myself not to cry. Not yet. I had a camera in my lap. I raised it, hands trembling, and took the photos. Her going in, the lights in the bedroom turning on, the silhouette of them by the window, her lips on his neck. And that was it. That was the moment love died. I drove away from the house we called ours, parked under the old bridge by the river, and finally let myself break. The sobs came in waves, ugly and violent, soaking my collar, fogging the windshield. I screamed once, loud, raw, into the empty night, as if the echo could carry away some of the hurt. I could have gone to a lawyer right then. I could have burned it all down, but I didn't. I needed one more thing. I needed him to admit it, to say it to my face, because I wanted to see if the man I married had enough of a soul left to tell me the truth. And so, I made a plan. Part 3, A Dinner to Remember. The next morning, I got up early. Earlier than Nathan. I made coffee like I always did, added a sprinkle of cinnamon to his just the way he liked it. I sat at the kitchen island, pretending to scroll through my phone, pretending not to see the faint bite mark peeking from under the collar of his t-shirt. He acted like everything was fine, kissed me on the cheek, said, "Sleep okay, babe?" I said, "Like a rock." Lied, again. But this time, the lie tasted different. It tasted like power. I told him I wanted to cook dinner that night, something nice, something special. He raised an eyebrow, surprised. After all, we usually ordered out on Saturdays. But I smiled, played the doting wife, said I was sorry for being distant lately, that I missed us. He smiled, relieved, said he missed me too. It was almost funny how easily he swallowed the bait. I spent the afternoon preparing a 3-course meal. Lit candles, set the table with the good china we only used on holidays. I even wore the red dress he always liked, the one he said made me look like something out of a dream. And when he walked in, he paused in the doorway like he couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. "You look, wow," he said. "You haven't seen anything yet," I whispered, brushing past him, placing a soft kiss on his neck, exactly where Emily had left her mark. The evening unfolded like a perfect scene from a romance movie. We laughed. We shared a bottle of wine. I told stories from my childhood he'd heard 100 times, and he pretended to be amused all over again. I could almost believe we were happy. Almost. Until dessert. I brought out a small chocolate cake, our favorite. I'd even written to forever in white icing on the plate. His smile faded just a bit when he saw it, but he recovered quickly. He reached for his fork. But I stopped him. "There's something I want to say first," I began, keeping my tone light. He looked up. "Sure, what's up?" I took a deep breath. My hands didn't tremble. Not anymore. "I know about Emily." There it was, silence. Heavy, dense, almost physical. The clink of his fork against the plate was the only sound for a full 5 seconds. His eyes widened, his mouth opened, but no words came out. I waited. "You're mistaken," he finally said, trying to smile. "Emily? She's just..." "Don't," I interrupted, voice low, steady. "I saw her. I have pictures." I know about the key, the calls, everything. The color drained from his face. He stammered. It didn't mean anything. It was just. Don't insult me, I said, standing now. My chair scraped against the tile, sharp and final. Don't pretend this was a mistake. Don't pretend you didn't know exactly what you were doing. He tried to reach for me. I stepped back. Why? I asked. Why her? Why now? He didn't answer. He just sat there, the man I had trusted, loved, built a life with, silent in his shame. I wanted to believe in us, I said, voice breaking for the first time that night. I wanted to fight for us, but you didn't even give me the chance. Then I walked away, not to pack my bags, not yet, but to go upstairs and cry into a pillow so he wouldn't hear the sound of me breaking. That night, I slept in the guest room. And in the morning, Nathan was gone. No note, no text, no goodbye. Just the echo of a slamming door and a heart that still hadn't learned how to stop loving a man who didn't deserve it. But the story wasn't over. Because what I didn't know, what neither of us knew, was that tragedy was just around the corner, and no amount of betrayal could prepare me for what would come next. Part 4, The Last Message. The house felt different without Nathan in it. Colder, emptier. Every room echoed with things unsaid. All the laughter that had once filled these walls now silenced under the weight of betrayal. I moved through it like a ghost, barely touching anything. His scent still lingered on the pillows. His toothbrush sat untouched in the bathroom, but I refused to throw it away. Not yet. It wasn't forgiveness. It was paralysis. The numbness that comes after your world shatters. Emily never called, never texted, not even to offer some half-hearted excuse. She disappeared like a coward, and that hurt just as much as Nathan's betrayal. She'd been my best friend, my sister in everything but blood, and she left like we never existed. The days passed in a blur. I told no one. Not my mom, not my coworkers. I wore my silence like armor. People asked where Nathan was, and I smiled too brightly. Said he was away on business. Said everything was fine. It was a lie, but it was easier than explaining that my life had been a lie, too. Then came the message. It was a Tuesday evening. The sky outside was smeared with the golden pink of a quiet sunset. I was making tea when my phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. You don't know me, but you should. I think we need to talk. It's about Nathan, please. My stomach dropped. I stared at the message, unsure whether to laugh or cry. I didn't answer at first. I set the phone down, poured my tea, took a shaky breath, but curiosity got the better of me. I typed back. Who are you? The reply came instantly. My name is Claire. I was seeing Nathan. I didn't know he was married. Not until last week. I sank into a chair. Another one? How long? I asked. 3 months. He told me he was divorced. I found out the truth by accident. I saw your picture on his Facebook, hidden under an album called Old Stuff. That's how I found your name. I didn't know what to feel. I was angry, humiliated, but also weirdly vindicated. He hadn't just cheated with Emily. There was Claire, maybe more. He hadn't slipped once. He'd built a pattern, a web of lies. Claire wanted to meet. She said she had things to give me, proof, messages, even a letter he'd written and never sent. I said yes. We met at a cafe the next day, a quiet place near the library. She was young, probably no older than 24, long auburn hair, nervous eyes. I'm so sorry, she said the moment we sat down. I had no idea. If I'd known. I stopped her. It's not your fault. He's the one who lied to both of us. She nodded, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a worn notebook. He kept this, she said, wrote in it a lot. Poems, thoughts, some things about you. My hands trembled as I took it. The pages were filled with his handwriting, some scribbled in a rush, others slow and thoughtful. But one page near the back stopped me cold. It was a letter, addressed to me. I know I'm a coward. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I never stopped loving you. I think I'm broken, and I never wanted to break you too. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I read it again, and again, until the words blurred. Claire looked like she might cry. He called me yesterday, she said softly. He sounded strange. Said he was sorry. Said he had to make something right, that he'd done too much damage. A cold dread wrapped around me. What did he mean? I don't know, she whispered, but he sounded like he was saying goodbye. I didn't wait. I left the cafe, notebook still clutched in my hand. I called his phone. No answer. I called again. Nothing. I drove to his apartment. I still had the spare key. My hands shook so badly I could barely fit the key in the lock. The door creaked open. Silence. Then, I saw it. On the coffee table. A single envelope. My name. Inside, a note. Short, final. I couldn't live with what I'd done. I thought I was escaping a life that trapped me. But the truth is, I was the prison. I ruined everything. I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her. In the only broken way I knew how. The rest of the night came in flashes. Police. Sirens. My screams. The tight clutch of grief that doesn't let go. Nathan was gone. By his own hand. And just like that, the man who betrayed me shattered me all over again, in a way I could never have imagined. Part 5, The Silence After Goodbye. The days after Nathan's death passed like an endless winter. Time moved, but I didn't. I remember staring at the walls, unsure if it was morning or night. Food lost its taste. Music turned into static. The world felt muted, drained of color and warmth. I wasn't sure what I was grieving more, the man I'd loved, or the man I thought he was. The funeral was small. His parents were distant, cold. They blamed me, or maybe they blamed themselves. It didn't matter. We stood side by side, watching the coffin disappear into the ground, and not a single word passed between us. Emily didn't come. Of course she didn't. I found out later she had moved away, quietly, quickly. She took a job in another state and left behind the wreckage she'd helped create. Cowardice came naturally to her, I realized. Claire was the only one who stayed in touch. She messaged every now and then, asking if I was okay, offering kindness that I didn't deserve, or maybe, didn't know how to accept. Sometimes I responded. Mostly I didn't. But her words meant something, even when I couldn't say so. I went back to work 3 weeks later. People didn't ask questions. Maybe they'd heard rumors. Maybe they just knew from my face that I wasn't the same person who left for vacation a month earlier. I appreciated the silence, the pretending. It gave me something to hold on to. But grief has a way of haunting you when the world forgets. It hit hardest at night. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, the good ones, the lies, the look on his face when I last saw him, desperate, maybe even guilty, but never cruel. That was the part that hurt most. He didn't seem like someone who wanted to destroy me, just someone who didn't know how to stop destroying himself. One night, I opened the notebook Claire had given me again. I'd avoided it for weeks, too afraid of what I'd find. But something in me needed closure, needed him, even now. I flipped through page after page of poetry, some raw and angry, others tender and filled with regret. There was one entry, dated just 3 days before his death, that stopped me cold. If I could go back, I wouldn't choose someone else. I'd choose her again, but I'd choose better. I'd be faithful, honest, less afraid. I'd tell her she was enough every single day. I didn't cry. I'd run out of tears. But my hands clenched around the page like it could anchor me to something real, something I'd lost. Eventually, I found a new routine, not happiness, not peace, just motion, and that was enough to survive. Then came the call. It was from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. "Is this Leah Morgan?" the voice on the other end asked. "Yes. This is the county sheriff's office. We're contacting you regarding a safe deposit box found under Nathan Ellis's name. Your name is listed as the beneficiary." I froze. What? A box. At Stay, Helena Bank. He left instructions that it be opened only after his passing. "You'll need to bring ID. There's no rush. But, we thought you should know." My mind spun. What else had he kept hidden? 2 days later, I stood inside the vault of a quiet bank, heart pounding. The teller handed me a sealed envelope and a small USB drive. Inside the envelope was a letter. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I don't know what right I have to ask you for anything. But if you're here, thank you. There are things you didn't know. Things I never told you. The truth. The whole of it. It's on the drive. You deserve that much. I didn't wait. I went home. Plugged in the USB. There was only one file. A video. It opened on Nathan's face. He looked tired, gaunt, eyes hollow but honest. Leah, he said softly, I'm not making this to beg. I know I've already lost you. But I can't leave this world without telling you everything. No more lies. I leaned forward, barely breathing. The video continued, and with each word, every assumption I had about my marriage, about Nathan, about the affair, even about Emily, began to unravel in a way I never expected. What he confessed next would change everything. Again. Part 6, The Final Truth. Nathan stared into the camera with that familiar softness, the one I used to trust. But now, it felt like looking at a stranger who wore my husband's face. I never meant for any of this to happen, he began, his voice breaking slightly. But meaning well doesn't undo the damage. And I owe you more than the truth. I owe you peace. He inhaled, then exhaled slowly, steadying himself. It didn't start with Emily. Not the way you think. I froze. She didn't seduce me. I didn't chase her. It started by accident. A night you were at your mother's. You'd been so tired, so distant, rightfully so. We were trying to conceive, and it felt like our whole lives were consumed by schedules and tests and calendars. I felt like I was failing you. As a man. As a partner. He ran his hands over his face in the video, exhausted. Emily came over to drop off something. I don't even remember what. We talked. Drank wine. Stupid. I should have stopped it before it began. But it wasn't about sex, not at first. It was comfort. Escapism. Someone telling me I wasn't broken. I felt sick. Like he was justifying it. But I couldn't stop watching. It only happened twice, he said. I swear to you. It never should have happened at all. After the second time, I ended it. I told her I loved you, that I wanted our family. But Emily, she didn't let go. He paused, looking away from the camera as if ashamed to face even the lens. I tried to fix things with you, Leah. That's why I wrote you those poems. Why I started planning the renewal of our vows. I thought if I could just pretend well enough, maybe the cracks wouldn't show. But she threatened to tell you. She said she'd ruin everything. That if she couldn't have me, you couldn't either. And then, he sighed. A heavy, haunted sound. She said she was pregnant. The world around me collapsed. I gripped the desk, breath shallow. He had gotten her pregnant? No test. No doctor. Just words. But I believed her. Or maybe I was just too afraid not to. That's when she started asking for things. Money. Help. She said she'd go away quietly if I gave her enough to start over. I thought I could make it disappear. His voice cracked. I didn't know you had seen the messages. I didn't know you were planning to leave. I remembered. That night at the lake house. How he begged me to talk. I wasn't chasing Emily that night. I was going there to tell her to stop. To say goodbye, forever. I wanted to fight for us. For you. For our child. But when I got there, I realized she was never pregnant. It was a lie. All of it. He clenched his fists in the video. I could see his knuckles whitening. We argued. She screamed. She hit me. Said if she couldn't have me, no one could. She told me she'd ruin you. That she'd lie. Say I abused her. Say you knew and ignored it. Anything. He looked directly into the camera. I was scared. For you. For the baby. And in that fear, I lost control. I said things I shouldn't have. I stormed out. I drove to clear my head and the car. I wasn't paying attention. He swallowed hard. The crash wasn't planned. But sometimes I wonder if I wanted it to happen. Tears streamed down my cheeks before I even realized I was crying. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he finished. "I just wanted you to know the truth. Because you deserve a life not built on lies. You deserve someone who would never even look away from you, not for a second." "I'm sorry I wasn't that man." The screen went black. Silence. I sat there for a long time, staring at the dark screen. My hands trembled. My heart beat in my throat. He hadn't just broken my trust. He'd tried to patch it with secrets. And yet, some twisted part of me was grateful. Because now, finally, I knew. I had the whole, raw truth, and it was both a burden and a release. Later that night, I walked down to the lake. The air was cool, calm. The water, still as glass. I took the USB drive from my pocket, held it for a long moment, and then threw it into the water. Some things didn't need to be kept. Some ghosts belong to the deep. When I turned back toward the cabin, I knew the next part of my story was waiting to be written, by me, and only me. Part 7, The Reckoning and New Beginning. The weeks after I threw the USB drive into the lake felt like walking through a fog I couldn't shake. The truth was out. Yet the pain lingered like a shadow I couldn't outrun. Nathan's confession had left me broken. But strangely, it was the first step toward healing. Sometimes, knowing the whole story is the only way to stop the lies from consuming you. I spent hours alone, staring at our empty home, the place that once echoed with laughter and dreams. Every corner reminded me of promises made and broken. Our daughter's drawings pinned on the fridge. The coffee mugs we never got to finish. The bed that felt too large now. But amid the wreckage, I found tiny sparks of strength. I had a choice: let this destroy me, or rebuild from the ashes. Nathan reached out again. This time, without pretense. No more videos or excuses. Just simple messages asking for a chance to make amends. To attend therapy. To fight for our family. But how could I believe someone who fractured my world so completely? I decided to meet him one last time. Not for forgiveness. Not for reconciliation. But for closure. We met in a quiet cafe, the one where we had our first date years ago. The familiar place held no magic for me anymore. But it was a neutral ground. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. The confident man I once knew was gone, replaced by someone fragile and remorseful. "I'm sorry, Leah," he said softly. "For everything. For the lies. The pain. The fear. I never wanted to lose you." I looked at him, searching for the man I married. The man I once trusted with my whole heart. But what I saw was someone who had lost himself, tangled in his own mistakes. "I loved you once," I whispered, "but love isn't enough to hold us together anymore. We can't go back to what we had. It's gone." He nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. "I understand." That moment was bitter, but honest. For the first time, we were truly seeing each other without illusions. Leaving the cafe, I felt a weight lift. I was free to start anew, to rediscover who I was beyond the roles of wife and mother. I surrounded myself with friends, poured my energy into work, and found solace in small joys I had forgotten. But life had one more cruel twist waiting for me. One night, as I was tucking our daughter into bed, my phone rang. It was a hospital number. My heart stopped. Nathan had been in a car accident. Severe, but stable. The doctors said he might never fully recover, but he was alive. I didn't know what to feel: anger, fear, pity, relief. I stood frozen, the phone slipping from my grasp. I visited him the next day. Seeing him so vulnerable, fighting for his life, stirred something I hadn't expected: compassion. Maybe not for the man he was, but for the man he could still become. I stayed by his side through surgeries, through pain, through silence, and in that quiet hospital room, I realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting or excusing. It was about freeing myself from the chains of hatred and resentment. Months passed. Nathan slowly healed, physically and emotionally. We never rekindled what was lost, but we found a new respect, a fragile truce. And me? I found strength in my scars, beauty in my brokenness, and hope in a future I would shape on my own terms. This story isn't about a perfect ending. It's about surviving betrayal, embracing pain, and discovering that sometimes the greatest love is the love you give yourself. Because after the darkest nights, the dawn always comes.